There are actual lectures now in our conferences specifically about weight loss with GLP-1s and how this has been a boon for the plastic surgery industry.
Yeah, I bet so. And I know that it's been popularized by many of these celebrities that are, like you said, being really transparent about the work they've had done. But I also feel like that must be part of it too, is just a lot of people sort of needing something. On that note, I was asked this myself on a podcast recently, and I didn't have a great answer. Tell us about Ozempic face, Ozempic butt. What's happening there? And is it real?
So this is real, but I do think that it is overemphasized because anytime you lose weight, whether you lose it with a GLP-1 agonist, or let's say you have a gastric sleeve, or you just lose it by old-fashioned diet and exercise, you're going to lose fat. Fat will shrink. And when fat shrinks, your face gets thinner. So Ozempic face is essentially loss of volume in the face, causing the face to deflate. And that can happen however you lose weight. Now, the question is that worse because you're on Ozempic or tirzepatide than it would be if you did it a different way? And the answer is not necessarily. There's no science to show that you have a different butt when you lose weight on Ozempic versus if you lose weight by going on a ketogenic diet. You know, it's the same thing as far as we know.
Yeah. If you're not doing your squats, ladies, you're going to lose your booty when you lose weight.
But there's even now, there's like Ozempic vagina, there's Ozempic penis. Like it's like any body part now, they're throwing the name Ozempic in front of it and making, I think some of it's made up as like marketing stuff. I think some of it also is just, online writers and journalists want to find something to write about. And hey, you know what? Ozempic penis. Hey, we'll get people read about that just because it's so like, what is that? Everybody wants to know.
It's just clickbait, right? I get it.
It is. Totally.
I had a personal situation recently. Excuse me. My mom almost died, and I went. It was very stressful. I had like a very stressful 2 months back in Oregon, and I gained. I honestly didn't believe my middle-aged patients all these years when they told me, like, I literally just put on 20 pounds out of nowhere, and I went through a very stressful ordeal, and boom, like, what is this midsection? And I had a pretty moderate, for my size, weight gain. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm still working on getting it off. But whenever anyone sees me from here up, they're like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. Your face looks, I'm like, it's just fat, you guys. Like, the fat filled me back out. And I really think middle-aged women who get real lean, I've heard other aesthetic doctors say, like, ladies, don't lose all your fat, because your fat is what keeps your face nice and filled. Otherwise, we got to put something else in there to fill it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we know that the face ages in 3 dimensions. And when you get older, just aging in and of itself causes you to lose fat in the face, but also causes the muscles to actually atrophy a little bit and the bones to actually atrophy. Our actual bony shape of our skull and of our facial bones actually shrinks as we get older. Now, you add on top of that loss of fat from weight loss, and that's going to precipitate that even more and make it more obvious. So fat grafting is one of my favorite operations to do because it's so natural and because you can get such powerful results. And essentially what we do is we take fat from the abdomen or the thighs or the hips, purify the fat, and then inject it into the cheeks, under the eyes, in the cheek hollows. And because it's your own fat, some of it will last a really long time. I actually did a facelift on a patient yesterday. I had done a facelift and fat injections on her 12 years before, back in 2014. Now she's in her mid-70s, and she came to see me, and she's like, look, I'm in my mid-70s. She goes, will you operate on me when I'm 80? And I'm like, I don't know that I would. Like, you're getting up there. She goes, I just want one last facelift. Can you do it for me? So I did it on her yesterday, and the fat that I injected in her 12 years ago is still there. We didn't do any further fat grafting. She doesn't do any fillers, but that's that same fat 12 years later, still there, still looks amazing. So it can be a very powerful thing. But yes, it's definitely true that we lose volume. That loss of volume is a natural consequence of facial aging. My face is one that as I get older, I'm not going to be sagging a ton, but I'm going to get flatter and more gaunt. And so at some point, either filler or fat could actually really help my face as well. There are other people who have like rounder faces. So we have a common friend of ours, Marisa Snyder, Dr. Marisa Snyder. Great doc, good friend of mine. She has a rounder face, and she's not going to age the same way. Volume, she's going to continue to have volume. So she's going to be kind of the opposite of like my facial shape.
Oh, she's so beautiful. She's just going to look fabulous forever. She's got such great
I think
dense
so.
hair, and she's going to
Yeah.
always look young, and she's just going to look like an older version of her beautiful younger self. And that's the goal, right?
Exactly.
That's
Yep.
I was looking at my
Exactly.
best friend. I was swimming around the pool with my best friend. We've been best friends for 40 years, and she'd had some filler in the last few years, and I could tell it had finally settled in, and she'd had a little bit of weight loss. And I was looking at her, and her face looked exactly the same. She's a stunning beauty. She was always the like really pretty one. Whenever we'd go anywhere, our whole life, like all the boys loved her because she's so stunningly
Yeah.
beautiful. And
I got friends like
she
that. They'd piss me off.
she I just am always in awe of her beauty. And anyways, I'm looking at her and I'm like, God, she just looks like an older version of her perfect self. And I thought that's the goal, right? We don't want to get too different looking. As I don't anyway. I don't ever, no matter what I have done, I still want to look like Tyna. On that note, fat pads. I have heard that if you lose enough weight and you lose some of the fat pads in your face, that they don't come back. Is that true?
No, that's not true because fat in and of itself, unless it's actually removed or it's killed off, it shrinks, but it does not necessarily just disappear. So you should be able to, with weight gain, that fat should be able to come back. The only time it doesn't, like I said, is if, let's say, you remove it via liposuction, or there are now treatments that we have that can actually destroy fat cells non-invasively, then that fat should not come back. But otherwise, any fat cell can increase and decrease in size based off of what's going on in the body at that time.
Okay, that makes sense to me too. And I was like, what do you, I have a history of anorexia in my far past. And I've been told, oh, if you lose your fat pads in your face, they're never coming back and you'll look 100 years old. And I was like, okay, that's not what my doctor brain understands though. So
that old wives' tale is not true. What is true though is if you keep making that face, you're going to keep creating those wrinkles essentially. So one thing that is true that our moms would say, like, don't make that face; it's going to stay that way. Well, it's not going to get stuck that way, but the wrinkles that you create, and people who have really dynamic faces, like a Jim Carrey type person, where they're making all these extreme facial expressions, creating a lot of wrinkles at the time. If you are like that, then those lines can get inset. And so there's actually an interesting story. It's kind of sad, actually, that supposedly Elvis Presley forbade Priscilla Presley. Priscilla was the wife. Yeah, because the daughter was Lisa Marie. Yeah, so Priscilla,
yep.
He forbade Priscilla to elevate her brows so that she wouldn't get wrinkles of her forehead. Supposedly that's what he forbade her. It's sad, but there is a truth to it in that, yes, if you're not moving those if you're not moving your eyebrows, you're not going to create wrinkles there. That's how Botox works. And so there is truth to it, but yeah, that story is a little bit sad, but I do think it may be true.
Let's jump into it then. This is what everyone came for. Let's talk about facelifts. Tell me first off, we've got Kris Jenner, we've got Denise Richards recently. I think even maybe Anne Hathaway had something done. What is going on? What is the difference between a deep plane and a SMAS? And what do I need to know?
So this is a huge controversy on social media amongst plastic surgeons.